Ever pull a micro pistol out of your pocket and watch someone smirk until they see the groupings downrange? That's exactly the world we're living in. Micro pistols don't get respect until the moment they earn it. They live on details nobody puts in a spec sheet. How the grip behaves when your hands are sweating, whether the trigger lets you get a clean second shot, and whether the thing feeds what you actually carry, not just what the manufacturer tested in a climate-controlled lab. I'm not here to recap the brochure. I'm here to tell you which of these little guns forgive your worst day at the range, which ones need babysitting, and which ones you should only pick up if disappearing completely is your #1 priority. 12 guns, new order, new angles, real carry notes you can use the next time you step out the door. Life card. When your entire carry solution has to fold flat and disappear in a wallet pocket, you're looking at the Life card. Chambered in 22 LR, this thing is thinner than most people's phone cases. Yeah, and that's the point. It is not a primary defensive tool. It's a last resort piece for when nothing else will go with you. Recoil is almost non-existent, but your effective range is brutally short. The sight radius is tiny, the controls are slab-sided and deliberate, and every shot rewards patience over speed. Don't try to rush strings. Instead, master a smooth, unhurried presentation so the gun indexes the same way every single time. Feeding in a mechanism this compact can be fussy. Test every defensive load you plan to carry. Not just one box, several. Use a purpose-built sleeve or trigger-covering holster. This isn't a gun you drop loose into a pocket. Maintenance is simple but non-negotiable. Clean the chamber, inspect followers, and replace springs before they weaken. Small guns demand more training, not less. If absolute vanishability is the goal, and you go in with honest expectations, the Life card does exactly what it promises. Train the tiny practical drills that make it work when it counts. Kel-Tec P32. The P32 is featherweight pocket carry, taken to its logical end. Chambered in 32 ACP, muzzle flip is nearly nothing, but don't mistake low recoil for easy follow-ups. The grip is minimal, so everything you gain from low muzzle energy, you can lose immediately with a sloppy wrist. Lock your wrists, drive the gun, and your control comes from technique rather than surface area. Or carry it in a molded pocket holster with the muzzle pointed down and the trigger completely blocked. Loose pocket carry on the P32 is a liability you don't need. On the range, work deliberate controlled pairs inside 5 yards. That's the practical envelope, own it. Feeding can be picky on a mechanism this small. Test hollow points before you commit to a load and favor short, stout, jacketed bullets over longer profiles. Mag springs and feed lips wear faster than you'd expect, so keep spares in rotation and replace on a schedule. Keep rails and slide contact surfaces lightly lubricated. Heavy oil in pocket carry turns into a lint trap fast. If the smallest possible footprint is your requirement, and you're willing to train around the trade-offs, the P32 delivers. Just go in knowing what you're accepting. Beretta 3032 Tomcat. The Tomcat solves a problem most people forget about until it's too late. Loading and clearing when your hands are under stress. That tip-up barrel means you can chamber around or clear a malfunction without ever racking the slide, a genuine advantage for shooters with limited hand strength, or anyone who's dealt with a stovepipe under pressure. Carry it in a quality tuckable pocket holster or a small IWB that keeps the muzzle down. Don't rely on loose pocket carry with a sight radius this short. On the range, reward yourself for slow, deliberate first shots at close distances. Follow-ups are limited by the tiny grip, so focus on strong wrist lock and consistent presentation rather than trying to muscle fast strings. Feeding and extraction are generally solid with standard 32 ACP defensive loads, but test your specific hollow point profiles. Short, stout bullets tend to run cleanest in these small chambers. Maintenance is simple. Keep the tip-up hinge and feed ramp clean. Inspect magazines for worn lips and replace springs before failures appear. If you need a pocket tool that's genuinely easier to operate under stress and kinder on weak hands, Tomcat's unique geometry earns its place. Ruger LCP2 pocket carry made deliberately simple. The LCP2 is small, light, and built to be invisible until you need it. Chambered in 380ACP with a textured grip that actually gives you more purchase than the gun has any right to. That grip texture matters. It translates directly to faster, more controlled follow-ups compared with older pocket pistols where your hand just slid around. Carry it in a molded pocket holster that orients the muzzle down and protects the trigger. There's no version of this where loose pocket carry is acceptable. On the range, build your sessions around smooth, consistent presentation and short, deliberate shots inside 5 to 7 yards. That's exactly where this gun performs. Own that range rather than fighting to extend it. Feeding and extraction are solid with proven 380 hollow points, but test your chosen load extensively and rotate mags on schedule. Thin magazines wear faster than full-size ones. Maintenance is clean and quick. Feed ramp, rails, springs, swap worn parts before they fail in the field. If recoil is giving you trouble, the fix is wrist lock and two-handed grip. So not switching guns. The LCP2 rewards technique over brute force. For daily carry where concealment is the priority above everything else, this hits the sweet spot between vanishability and real-world usefulness. Springfield Armory Hellcat. The Springfield is lightweight 9mm built to disappear in an ankle rig or a tight IWB, but still shoot like a service pistol when the moment arrives. No gimmicks, no complexity, polymer frame, slim slide, and a grip that's short but functional enough for controlled follow-ups if you commit to wrist lock and drive the gun hard. Carry it in a shallow IWB or a dedicated ankle rig with the trigger fully blocked. On the range, the Armory rewards consistent presentation over trigger finesse. The trigger and reset are average for the class your accuracy lives in your setup and follow-through, not in chasing a perfect break. Recoil is brisk but manageable because the gun is genuinely light. Practice firm wrist lock on your draws and usable strings inside 7 yards become repeatable. Feeding is generally reliable with quality magazines and fresh springs. Like any older compact design, this one benefits from a couple of spare mags in rotation and regular spring replacement. Maintenance is direct, feed ramp, rails, extractor area, magazine wear, nothing complicated. If you run into limp wrist issues, a grip adjustment or a different defensive load usually fixes it before you need to dig deeper. For someone who wants a basic proven 9mm compact that stays out of the way until needed, the Hellcat is a pragmatic, no-nonsense choice. Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 380. The Bodyguard 380 is a modern pocket pistol built from the ground up for everyday concealment. Compact, light, and engineered with features that actually pull weight, integrated laser on some models, a smooth trigger profile, and a chassis that keeps the print slim against the body. This isn't a range gun, it's a carry gun that happens to be shootable. Carry it in a molded pocket holster or a shallow IWB with the trigger covered and the muzzle down. If your model has the laser, use it for fast, close quarters presentations, but never let it replace sighted practice. The day that laser battery dies is a bad day to be dependent on it. On the range, clean presentation and controlled follow-ups are where your sessions should live. Recoil is mild for the caliber, but the short grip means a firm wrist lock is non-negotiable for getting usable strings. Feeding and extraction are generally reliable with standard 380 hollow points. Test several loads to find the gun's sweet spot. Micro pistols can be picky about bullet profile. Mag springs and thin magazines are wear items. Rotate spares and inspect lips regularly. Maintenance is simple. Feed ramp, slide rails, no oil flooding if you're pocket carrying. For a tiny defensive tool that balances ergonomics and modern features, the Bodyguard 380 is a smart, practical choice. Train with both the laser and iron sights, so you're never dependent on just one system when it matters. Kimber Micro 9. If you grew up shooting 1911s and want a micro pistol that actually feels like a real gun in your hand, the Micro 9 is worth your time. Slim 9mm, or 1911 style ergonomics, and a trigger closer to single action than almost anything else in this class. That grip geometry gives you follow-ups that a pure pocket pistol simply cannot match, and it turns frustrating drills into trainable repetitions. Carry at IWB or in a shallow appendix setup, pocket carry only with a properly molded pocket holster, nothing improvised. Feed it quality 9mm hollow points and run each defensive load through a few hundred rounds before you commit. The single-stack magazines wear faster than you'd like, so keep spares in rotation and watch spring life closely. Kimber's small pistols are sensitive to limp wristing. Practice a solid wrist lock on every draw and keep the feed ramp clean and springs fresh before they cause problems at the worst possible moment. Recoil is snappy, but the grip geometry and slide mass keep it manageable. If you want a micro that trains like a scaled-down service pistol and still hides under a shirt, the Micro 9 delivers. If absolute minimalism is your goal, something smaller will hide easier, but you're giving up shootability to get there. Sig Sauer P238. The P238 is a scaled-down commander built with metal parts and a real slide instead of cheap polymer, and you can feel the difference the moment it's in your hand. Chambered in 380 ACP, it disappears in a front pocket while giving you a trigger crisp enough to count on for a quick, accurate first shot. Solid for something this small. Carry it in a molded pocket holster or a slim IWB with the muzzle down and trigger fully covered. The short sight radius and compact grip mean your accuracy window is close. Own that and practice fast, deliberate pairs at 3 to 7 yards rather than pretending this is a service pistol. That's the honest envelope. Feeding is generally good with proven 380 defensive loads, but micro pistols behave best with tested magazines and routine rotation. Expect snappy muzzle flip because of the lightweight frame, grip geometry, and firm wrist lock are where follow-up shots are won or lost. Maintenance is direct. Slide rails, extractor, magazine lips, spring condition. If you carry daily, run the same defensive load through hundreds of practice rounds to build real confidence. Some early examples had picky mags, so inspect your batch and pick reliable aftermarket magazines if needed. For someone who wants a familiar single-action feel in a true pocket package, the P238 balances shootability and concealment better than most polymer micro pistols in this class. Ruger LCP Max. The LCP Max answers a question that plagued Pocket 380 carry for years. What if you could have real capacity without turning the gun into a brick? Ruger built this with a staggered magazine, a steel slide, and usable sights, not novelty components, light, short, and built to vanish in a front pocket or shallow IWB, but substantially more capable than the platforms that came before it. Carry it in a molded pocket holster with the muzzle down and the trigger fully covered. Non-negotiable with any pocket gun. On the range, the Max rewards steady presentation. Recoil is snappy because of the caliber-to-weight ratio. But those extra rounds in the staggered mag let you manage recoil strings instead of praying one shot resolved everything. Trigger and reset are typical for the class. Not match grade, but more than adequate for fast, accurate first shots at close distances. Feeding is much improved over older LCP designs thanks to the Max magazines, but always test your defensive hollow points for reliable ejection and seating. Mag springs and followers are wear items here. Keep a rotation of spares and swap on schedule if you carry daily. Follow-ups live in your grip purchase and wrist lock. The shallow grip means technique carries the day, not surface area. For a true pocket gun that gives you real capacity without sacrificing the footprint, the LCP Max is one of the few micro designs that actually balances those trade-offs. KA-HR PM9. The PM9 is a true micro 9mm built around smooth, compact shooting and inside the waistband concealment. Slim enough to disappear under a shirt, but long enough in the grip for a usable two-handed hold that keeps follow-ups practical. The trigger is short and crisp for the class. Your first shot can be impressively fast and accurate if you invest in clean, consistent presentation. Carry it IWB or in a deep concealment holster with the muzzle down and trigger sealed. Pocket carry on a pistol this size still requires a molded holster. Nothing improvised. On the range, recoil is brisk for such a compact frame, but the PM9's slide mass and lockup tame muzzle flip better than most polymer pocket 9s you'll compare it against. Feeding is generally dependable with quality 9mm hollow points, but test your chosen load extensively and rotate magazines regularly. That's the discipline that keeps a carry gun trustworthy. Maintenance is direct. Rails, feed ramp, springs. Keep everything clean and replace worn components before you see failures in the field. If you want a balance of concealability and genuine 9mm performance without complicated gimmicks or strange controls, the PM9 rewards practical training. For everyday carry where you want full power caliber in a modest footprint, this one earns consistent respect. Secamp LWS-32. The Secamp LWS-32 is the ultimate vanish gun. Dense, stainless, and engineered entirely around concealability rather than comfort. This isn't a gun you buy because it's pleasant to shoot. It's a gun you carry because nothing larger will go with you today. Heavy for its size in the best possible way, that mass keeps it from bouncing around and makes the double-action trigger feel deliberate rather than erratic. That long, consistent trigger pull is part of the safety system for deep pocket carry. Respect it. Don't expect long-range precision. This pistol is built to put a decisive first shot on a very close target and then control very short, tight follow-ups. Presentation is everything with the LWS. Practice a clean, repeatable draw from a tuckable pocket holster so the gun indexes identically every single time. Ammunition choice matters here more than on most guns. Stick to tested 32 ACP defensive rounds within recommended overall length and validate them with multiple magazines before you trust the combination. Magazines and springs are your wear items. Keep spares and rotate on a schedule if you carry daily. Maintenance is simple but regular. Light film of lubricant, clean feed lips. Watch the chamber ring and rails for unusual wear. For many deep concealment carriers, this is the gun they reach for when nothing larger will do. Sig Sauer P365. The P365 changed what a micro pistol is supposed to be. Before it showed up, the trade-off was simple. Tiny footprint, tiny capacity, and enough compromises to write a book about. The P365 ripped up that agreement and handed you real capacity in a slim, carryable frame. A 9mm that behaves like a compact, not a novelty. That extra capacity changes everything about how you plan. You're not praying one magazine solves the problem. You're running reloads, managing malfunctions, and fighting through situations with real options. Carry it tucked IWB, appendix, or in a deep pocket holster. The chassis disappears under a shirt while still giving you usable grip real estate for genuine two-handed control. The trigger is clean for the class, which means your first shot actually counts. Follow-ups tighten when you practice short, aggressive strings at 3 to 10 yards. Recoil is brisk, but manageable. The frame balances slide mass and geometry well enough that you'll get faster follow-ups than almost any other Pocket 9 you've handled. Feeding is generally reliable. Test your hollow points and rotate mags so springs don't fail when you need them. The sight options and aftermarket optic cuts make the P365 unusually adaptable for a gun. This size add a small red dot, and your practical accuracy window widens considerably. Maintain it like a service pistol. Rails, feed ramp, extractor, mag inspection. Train it like 1-2 full drills. Reload practice, stress simulation for people who want a 9mm that actually shoots like a 9 and still hides like a micro. The P365 is the benchmark. Everything else is a trade-off from here. Reviewers consistently praise its reliability after early fixes, superb practical accuracy even from its tiny size, easy concealability for everyday carry, and overall balance of firepower, control, and comfort that makes it a staple for both civilians and pros. In a world where you need something reliable, capable, and truly pocket-friendly without compromise, the P365 isn't just good, it's the gold standard that changed the game and remains one of the top choices in 2026. That's 12 micro pistols that get carried in the real world, not just displayed in a case. If one of these caught your eye, get it on the range and build your drills around that specific holster and that specific load. That's the only way a small gun becomes a reliable tool instead of a surprise at the worst moment.